Hey everyone, it is George Couros. Welcome back to a very, very special episode of the Innovators Mindset podcast. And one of the reason it's so special is because I am so excited because my new book, Forward Together, is now available whenever you're listening to this. And before I get into it, I hope you have an amazing 2026. I had a great 2025 and I feel that momentum. I am really excited about this book. But I'll tell you, I had a terrible 2024. I had a lot of personal things happen to me that were really tough to deal with. And I did everything in my power in 2025 to make it as great a year as possible. And so, things will happen to you. I'll have ups and downs as well. And that will continue, things happen in your life. But I hope that you make it an incredible year and really kind of see how much power you have on that. That sometimes bad will happen to you. And of course, we have to deal with that as well. But I hope you have a great 2026. But back to this special episode of the podcast. And I typically post these on Thursday, but it's Friday, January 1st. People do their thing. January 2nd, wanted the release date. After, I know people are not back at work, but here's not a time if that you are back at work or you're not, you can get the book. But I am so excited about this book. We all know that in education, there's all this contentiousness. There's all these issues here too. And I think that I've been really drawn into it in a negative way where I was so focused on the problem. You just don't even want the conversation anymore. And this book was really inspired, and you'll read it in the book by the solution. And, when you're so focused on the problem, all you see is a problem. When you start looking for solutions, you tend to find them. And honestly, they tend to find you. And I think that was what's inspired the book. And so the full title of the book is Forward Together, Moving Schools from Conflict to Community in Contentious Times. And I'm going to share with you 3 reasons why this book, why I wrote this book. And I put this out in my newsletter, but I also wanted just to kind of give you a brief overview of how the book is structured. And I separate it in 2 parts, and I've done this in a different way. I've written books before. This is my first solo book since the Innovators Mindset, where it's just me. And even though I say it's just me, but inspired by so many stories of schools doing incredible things, so many educators who are doing work, currently in schools that are really bringing people together. But the 2 parts I created were what I call the principles and the perspectives. And the principles are really kind of the big ideas, the strategic thinking about how do we really focus on how we bring people together so we can move forward. If you spend all of your time fighting with each other or, trying to get people to buy into initiatives, that time, what would it look like if we spent all that time working together, that same amount of time, and really kind of reshifting this? And so those principles are those big ideas. But the second part is what I call the perspectives. And the perspectives are to kind of ground you when the principles don't work the way you want them to work. And as much as we would love to say, hey, I have this book, it is the key. If you do these things, everything will work. Anyone who tells you that is lying. I would never say that because I don't know your community. I don't know your context. I don't know what you're going through. And so, yes, these things are proven to, make a positive impact. And you'll see that through the stories in what I share. But it's also understanding that sometimes things don't work because we deal with humans. And that's just how it is. That's how it is. And that's why the perspectives really, really matter. If you say this to me, we are doing this thing in our schools and it works for 90% of our students. My first question is, what are you doing for the other 10%? Right? Like what? So if it works for 90, are we good with that? Or do we do everything to kind of navigate to ensure that every kid that we serve finds that opportunity of success that is meaningful to them? And so that's why I want to share this. So I'm going to just read you this one part of the book in actually talking about the principles and perspectives. And part 1 is focused on principles to help you navigate and consider how to move people forward in a somewhat strategic manner. As you learn these ideas, you will need to revisit them and recalibrate continuously. The principles aren't a 6 steps to bringing people together formula for success, but there is definitely some strategic thinking in the process. Part 2 is focused on perspectives through collections of stories, strategies, and anecdotes for consideration when implementing the principles becomes complex. The reason I felt this is important is that the principles I share are actually quite simple, but that doesn't make them easy. Through sharing some of my failures, there are many, and successes, I even have a few of those, I hope to help you take stock of your own approach and perhaps learn to step back, connect with others, and bring people together to move forward. The principles are most important when they are hardest to maintain. The perspectives can help guide you in holding to those principles in the most difficult of circumstances. The thing that really matters to me is understanding that people follow more what you do than what you say. So if you ask people to do something, but they don't see you doing it, it doesn't really matter. And that's why the perspectives matter, because sometimes, I'm going to be honest with you, even for me, those principles are hard to maintain. And so those perspectives are an opportunity to kind of take a step back, kind of re-look at what you're doing and still find a way to move forward. And as you can tell, I'm so excited about this book. I think it's going to make a huge impact. And I'll share why I wrote this and why it matters to me, but also why I'm so excited about this. I saw a video from Alex Warren, and I'm sure you might not know his name. I guarantee you know his song, right? The song Ordinary. I'm not going to sing it to you, even though I could. Even though I couldn't. You know I couldn't. I'm joking. But I saw a video of him just a few days ago, and he was talking about that song when it first was created and how much he believed in that song and how powerful it was. And what I appreciated is that he kept sharing and sharing and sharing and sharing and wasn't getting attention, but he believed in the song so much. He believed that it could really inspire people. And with this book, I believe this. I believe this book can have a huge impact on the people who embrace it, because they'll start really seeing themselves as a solution. And so I might tend to overshare in this, but I really believe in this work. And I talked about this a little bit. There's something, people get really kind of uncomfortable when people share their own stuff. But when we work with kids, we like, be proud of what you've done. You should stand up and be proud. But as soon as we become adults, we're like, hey, kind of tap it down. And I'm not trying to brag. I'm just really proud of this work. And it's, proud of it is, some of it is me screwing up. That's me sharing that. But I think it can really, really make an impact. I have a belief in this book. This is the most excited I've been about something I've created in a long time. I'm very passionate about what this can do, because I really believe in the power of schools. I really believe the power of educators and communities working together. That means everything to me. So I do want to share 3 reasons why I wrote this book. And so I wrote this newsletter, and the first reason I wrote this is this one. It is focused on we over winning. And if you know me at all, if you know me on a personal level, and I'm sure I've talked about this on the podcast before, I'm super competitive. I'm very competitive. And I can see it in my kids already. I can see that competition. And I sometimes forget it. I remember signing up for the first, distance race I'd done a long time. It's 10K, and it was just for fun, right? The second it started, I give it competitive. I want to try to beat as many people as possible. So sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But the thing you have to realize is that if you ever enter into school administration, right? And I want to make this a really clear distinction. Because you are in school administration, that does not make you a leader. Some of the best leaders I know in education are not administrators. And some of the worst some of the worst administrators I know are not leaders. You being an administrator does not make you a leader, right? Leadership is having that influence to move people forward in a positive manner. And so when I went in school administration, what I really started to understand is, as much as I'm competitive, if my focus was on being better than others, then I would lose. That's how you lose, because your job in education is to bring people together in leadership in school administration to move forward. And so the more people you can elevate, the more people who do great stuff because of the environments you are creating, of really how you empower people, that's actually how you win. And there is a little ego in there too. Like, I want as many people to do great things because of my work, because it feeds my ego. I'm not going to lie. It's still competitive. It's just, how do you truly win in education? You win by bringing people together. And so I really kind of talked about some of my ups and a lot of my downs. And one of the things I talk about right at the beginning of the book is that sometimes to be right and really being focused on how right I was, I would often push people away that I was trying to get. I wasn't listening to them way that I wanted to. And I think if you really believe in something, if you really believe in the power of something, you want as many people who don't agree with you to jump on. And one of the things I love about writing this book is really that this book is not about making people agree with you. It's what do you do when they disagree? And how do you kind of see their perspectives? How do you understand? And how do you build something together? Not build what you want with them. It's really that when you build something together, it really matters. And I share at the end of this newsletter, it might take longer to get where you hope to go when bringing people together, but in education, it is a guarantee that you will never get there if you are focused on going alone. That is so crucial to this work. And so the second reason I wrote this book is this. I have benefited directly from a school community that works together. I grew up in a small town named Humboldt, Saskatchewan, Canada, and I'm very proud of that town. A lot of my friends, a lot of people from that community, it's like 5,000 people, might be 6,000 now. They've gone on to do great things. And I believe it's not just because of the schools that I attended, it's because of how the schools and community work together. And I know I grew up in a different time that when I used to get in trouble, I used to get in trouble a lot as a kid, that if I was ever getting a call home, I would get in trouble at home too. It wasn't adversarial. And it was because both the teachers and my parents had super high expectations for me. And I think that really matters to understand. It's not because anyone was trying to make me do less. They wanted me to be more than what I could possibly be. And that's why you work together. In the dedication, I dedicate this book to all the school communities that are already doing this great work. And I say when communities and educators and schools work together, they double the chance of success for kids. And I have been the direct benefactor of that. And part of the reason sometimes we don't have that anymore, because I know it's a totally different time, right? There's a lot of contentiousness about parents, is that typically there is a lack of trust. And again, this is different in every community why that happens. But when you build that trust, you can get things done a lot quicker. And you might think it's wrong, people don't trust you, but whether you believe it's wrong how they got there, it's still like, how do we fix it, right? How do we fix it? You can say it's wrong or you want, it doesn't fix it. And so one of the things I talked about in the book is the importance of like sweating the small stuff, that the small things really, really matter. And I share this. The small details and connections made on a personal level can feel inconsequential, but they can be a way to uncover strengths early and build trust. The little things can always become the big things, and being proactive ensures they end up being big and good, because the opposite is no fun at all. If you want to grow your people, you have to know your people. So really building those communities where people know our expectations for kids are extremely high, that we hold them to a high standard, and that takes community working together. And so the last reason I wrote this book is this. Every situation and community is different, which is why I wrote this book. You will get sometimes people saying like, hey, if you read this, your whole life will change. If you do this, whatever. You'll hear this all the time. And the thing is, I'm telling you right now that's why I talk about the principle of perspectives. Your community is very complex. I don't know your community. You do, right? I don't like telling people what to do. I don't like being told what to do. And so really what I'm really trying to do is get people to kind of take a step back and really assess where they are and how this can help them and how they can figure out their own pathway forward. It's not, if you do these 6 things, everything will be fixed. It's like, hey, kind of take a step back. You know, can you maybe try something different in your process to bring communities together? And I think this is really important. I don't know the problems you are facing. I 100% know the solution. It's you. It is you. It's you listening. It's your schools. It's you. And that's something I really believe. And it's really kind of how do we gravitate towards different answers? And I wrote this in the opening of the book, is that the goal of these chapters isn't to hand you answers. It's to offer a lens or maybe even a mirror so you can better make sense of your own context. a lot of my screw ups here are hopefully hindsight for me and foresight for you, that you can say like, hey, however, have I done this? Or like, am I about to do this? And can I actually kind of find a better way to really bring communities together? It takes longer to build community, but things will get done quicker once you do it. But when you fight with community, things will never get done. And whether you're trying to pass a bond, right? Whether you find some contentiousness in your school community, whether you are trying to get people to basically embrace some learning initiative, whatever it is, and maybe it's different ways to kind of, ensure ownership, or maybe, I know this is going to sound weird, in the book sometimes it's kind of stepping back saying, this is maybe a great thing, but maybe it's not the right time. You have to have those questions too, right? You can't just say like, this is something I want, so it's going to happen. There is a part in the book that was really hard for me to write because, again, ego. It was really about something I really wanted to happen in the school, but my staff didn't. And I always promised them that I would, really bring them in the conversation. And in that space, they didn't want to do it. So I just take a step back and say, listen, I'm okay with that. Can we revisit this in the future? We're not going to do this. I totally hear you. I understand that. Even though I was the principal at the time, and you talk about building trust, as much as it hurt me, I knew long-term it would make a difference. And so that was something that really matters to me. And here's the thing. This book is for people who want schools to get better, who are, in all honesty, are sick of the fighting, not just outside education, but in education. I think there are sometimes people want to fight, right? And they want to see issues. They're looking for issues. They're always looking for problems. And I write this in the book. If you look for obstacles, you will find them. But if you look for opportunities for and with your community, they might find you. And that's something I want you to really think about this. If you buy a new car and you think it's super rare, the second you buy the car, you start seeing that car everywhere, right? You start seeing it everywhere. Because when you're looking for opportunity, it starts to hit you in the head. It starts to find you. And I really believe in the power schools to do this. So I really hope that you pick this book up. And if it's not the right time for you, I get that. I get that as well. But when it makes sense to you, I hope you pick it up. Over the next week or so, I will be giving a conversation guide away. And there's a link to that down below in the description. But I really believe in this book. And over the next several weeks on the podcast, I've kind of changed the schedule a little bit. I've had special guests overtake the podcast and interview me. And each one of them had totally different questions. I had no idea. They had all read the book in full, and they gave me some of their perspectives. So you see that mixed in with some of the other guests, because I really believe in this book. No matter what your initiative is, if you can't get people to come together, it doesn't matter. The initiative will never happen. So I believe this is so essential to whatever work you're doing in how you're bringing people together in education, because really I have benefited so much from a community, and I just wish every kid would have that opportunity. And I hope this book leads to those conversations. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited about this book. I know I've said it about 10 million times, but thank you so much for being here. Thanks for listening to the end of this podcast. I hope you get a chance to read the book. If you read it and resonates with you, please reach out to me. Please tag me on a social media post. I'd love to hear what your takeaways are, what you're implementing, because I really want to build a community. I believe in this book so much that I think it can start a movement to really bring people together. And I think we need that more in our world than ever. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your interest in this book. I hope you have a wonderful day.